And welcome back. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. Thanks for tuning in on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. I'm Matt Del Vecchio, and the other person on the line I know is probably tapping their feet to a little Rush, a person I've known since our days in Adam and Pee Wee football, talking over 45 years ago. I'd like to bring in Ernie Schramayr, ex-West Islander, if you may know the name here in Montreal. He's had a very successful CFL football career, and he successfully transitioned into an entrepreneur, always adapting to the times. He's a certified personal trainer, medical exercise specialist, and now a sought-after life coach. Ernie, welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
How you doing, Matt?
Doing well, Ernie. Thanks for joining me here on Life Unrehearsed here on a Sunday. You know, you have adapted as you have had to do in your university years at Purdue and then to the CFL and now fitness. And you are now into life coach at this stage in your career, 30 years as a personal trainer. Why start with life coaching?
Well, for the last couple of years, prior to the pandemic, I had kind of felt an itch. And I just thought, man, I don't have much in common with them anymore. I just didn't feel like it. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. But about just over a year ago, I have a newspaper column that I write for Metroland Media and Hamilton Spectator here. And I asked a question to the readers to send me questions to interview me about my fitness process, my meal planning, nutrition, that kind of thing, workouts. And I was really stunned that I got a big response, but nobody asked me questions about training or workouts or fitness or exercise or nutrition. It was all about mindset, mindfulness, meditation, how to create a positive outlook, goal setting. So there was a real need for that, which was only amplified when the pandemic happened.
You know, absolutely. And, life coach is probably not even a term that was known, and mindfulness and so on. And some people may look at it as perhaps in a negative light or in a positive light. But what I can tell you, it is getting more and more popular. You are testament to that as well. So can you explain, Ernie, the main difference in training someone and coaching them?
Well, when I did more of the work with people who are looking for help in managing anxiety and feeling stuck and depression, all that, I really loved it, and it was exactly what I wanted to do. When you're training somebody, really I am in control of the plan. I create a program, and then I make you do it. Whether or not you like doing it, I'm going to make you do it. With coaching, I never make anybody do anything or tell anybody what to do. We start with the assumption that the client has all the answers. I help them to find a destination that they want to move to, and they create a path that they want to take, that they create. And then I help them to stay accountable to the process that they need to do, on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So they've got the answers. In training, I'm the expert. I got the answers. But in coaching, the person is their own expert.
And I like the term accountable. You do make them accountable. Talking with life coach and ex-CFL football player, Ernie Schramayr. So let's go into, when people are seeking out life coaches, why would they reach out to you? You talked about it in those questions you asked in your article. So what are the main reasons why people would engage the services of a life coach?
There's a lot of different, obviously, just like with training, everybody has a different reason. But I've kind of narrowed it down to two things that people really reach out for. One of them is to be able to successfully navigate change or transition in their life. And the really classic example is somebody who's going to be retired, who's moving into retirement and has no idea what they're going to do on Monday and then the following Monday. And it's a really scary thing, almost like going into the unknown. So I help them to come up with a destination something that they can work towards. I hear a lot from people who just feel stuck and unfulfilled in their life. Even if they've got a really, prosperous, abundant life, they just feel like they're in Groundhog Day and it's the same thing every day. They've lost touch with who they used to be. And they just, they call me to help them to move to start to feel fulfilled again and to develop some fulfillment in their life.
It's interesting, and I'm sure there are listeners that are hearing you, Ernie, and life coach could be a scary word, and just to make that call could be, maybe not. I don't know what I'm going to get myself into, and so on. So, give us an example of what an initial life coaching session would look like.
Well, again, the whole process is guided by the needs of the client. It's not about me telling somebody you need to do this. It's not like a personal training session. So there's two questions that happen in every single session, the first session. Number one, it's a variation of the question, what's on your mind? What's keeping you up at night? What brings you here? That kind of thing. It's just very open-ended to kind of get them to open up and to let me know why they're there. And I'm never shocked by what I hear from people. I mean, it's all kinds of things. The follow-up question that is for everybody is, what would you like to get out of the session today? Some people, they want to have some homework at the end of our time together in the first session. Some people just want to get some clarity and figure out where they are, where they want to go. And then some people just want to ramble and they just want to unload for an hour. And that's cool, because that for me is like a session of an hour of intel. I'm gathering lots of information. They just want to unload, and that's fine too. It's really driven by what each person what they need in that session.
Well, you do become vulnerable in those sessions. And like you said, there's no judgment. You've heard it all already. And I think after you establish that rapport with the individual, then that's key for successful life coaching sessions in future.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm talking with life coach and certified personal trainer, ex-CFL football player, Ernie Schramayr. Can you give us, Ernie, some examples of someone who's worked successfully with a life coach?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I have a few that come to mind, but there's one that really jumps out at me. A woman who I started working with about 8 months ago. I'd like to say that when I met her, she was drowning in her abundance, which is, it sounds like, hey, that's great. It's abundant. She has a business which is really, really rocking. It's really doing well. She's a private business owner. But she is the one who's in charge of answering the phones in the middle of the night. She's getting calls every night. She's the one who's putting out the fires on a daily basis. So the words that kept coming up in our first session together were overworked, overwhelmed, exhausted, lacking passion, even angry and irritable. So from the outside, tons of business, making a lot of money, doing really well, and just personally, on a personal side, kind of miserable. She hadn't been able to go to her kids' volleyball games. She can't go away for the weekend. So what I did was I had her write a future present reality statement. So she went a year ahead into the future from the first time we met, and I wanted her to be really detailed and write down a little story about what her life is like and what she wants, not her business, but what her life is like, because her business and her life are two different things.
Two very different things.
Yeah. So 6 months later, so she did that, and then we kind of reverse engineered it and figured out how do you get to that? Because most people, they don't have any clarity on where they're going a year from now. They're just kind of rolling the wheel every day, right? So 6 months later, she had a manager in place who had taken half of her workload. She'd hired 2 more day-to-day workers. She was back to going to volleyball games. Her phone is off at night. She can watch a movie after dinner, and then she and her husband just got back from 2 weeks in Europe on a vacation, where there were no fires to put out. The business ran smoothly. She came back. It's prospering more than before. And her role on the day-to-day operations has been diminished, and she's got her life back.
A perfect example, Ernie, of the benefit of a life coach. We're already out of time, Ernie. I want to thank you so much. So informative. Listen, how can our listeners get a hold of you?
You know what? The great thing is, because of the technology we have now, I can work with people literally from BC to the Maritimes, which I do. So go to www.erniesfitnessworld.com. If you go to that site there's an opportunity to sign up or to book a discovery call, which is a complimentary phone call where we can chat, and you can let me know a little bit more about what your needs might be for life coaching.
Perfect.
So it's erniesfitnessworld.com.
All right, erniesfitnessworld.com. Ernie, thanks a lot for coming on to Life Unrehearsed here.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, life coach, ex-CFL football player, Ernie Schramayr.